Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm a leader, speaker, and creator, and you're welcome to episode 6 of the Tea Time Global Podcast. A recap of our previous episode. In episode 5, we did 2 new things. First, we introduced Tea Time Conversations, and Tea Time Conversation is basically an episode where we have a conversation with one of my friends about any topic of interest. The only difference is this time it's a conversational style and you hear 2 voices, unlike the other episodes where it's just me talking. In episode 5, we had a conversation with Katz Business School alumna and product marketing manager at Microsoft, Pearl Jaka-Do, where we spoke about the importance of setting boundaries. The second thing we did was we added a video element, so for our YouTube subscribers, you get to watch the entire conversation. Since we started this podcast in July, we have received several interesting feedback from our listeners. What the team and I are most excited about is the fact that people are starting to ask themselves what fulfillment really means, and also they're taking bold steps to find your purpose and live it. Everything we talk about on this podcast is targeted towards helping you find your purpose, optimize your potential, and live a fulfilling life. In today's episode, we're targeting only a cross-section of our listeners. It's for those of you whose personal finances are a mess. You run a business, you're an entrepreneur, or you work for a corporation and you've been working for so many years, but there's nothing to look back onto. There's nothing to show for all these years of working. No investment of any sort, whether in terms of investing in something you're passionate about or investing in an asset. So if you fall within this category or you know someone who is within this category, then this episode is for you. In Ghana, where I live, the youth have organized protests to voice out their concerns about the current state of the economy. And all over the world, we can see citizens fighting for these things, things like accountability, sustainability, access to basic social facilities. We also see youth from Africa emigrate to the West in search of a better life. We can attribute our poor finances to the current economic climate. We can also attribute it to our employers or even family. But for this episode, and as a listener of the Tea Time Global Podcast, I want you to focus on your circle of influence. How can we optimize our current circumstance? In this episode, I want to talk to you about how to grow your net worth irrespective of the job you do and whatever climate you find yourself in. The first thing I want you to do is invest in your personal and professional development. Many people tend to underestimate the importance of personal or professional development. But this is particularly important because it empowers you to grow, adapt, and thrive in an ever-changing world. So learn new skills like programming, playing an instrument, learn a new sport, improve your soft skills like leadership, public speaking, learn a new language, get a professional certification. It could be ACC, CFA, whichever one that matters to you or is in line with your purpose. Most times we look at how much money we're going to pay in order to acquire these skills, and we tend not to do them. We tell ourselves, okay, I have pressing things to do, so I'll do it next time. You said next time last year, and this is another year coming to an end. A year from now, you probably would not have done anything. You might not have taken any action. The alternative is you can pay for the course or learn that skill now, and a year from now, you might not have completed the professional certification or become a pro at whatever skill you're trying to learn, but you look back and see how far you've come. You look within and see how much you have increased in value, and it will make you feel a lot better. Take action now and invest in your personal and professional development. The second thing is optimize your friendships by creating partnerships. Convert your friends to partners. People you can create wealth with by pooling resources together. For instance, if you have X amount and you have 3 friends and you each put the same amount into a pool, what happens is that it automatically multiplies that amount. And now you get 4 times that amount. Now, each of you has a stake, remember, and note this, each of you has a stake not in the money, but in the fund. What I mean by this is, irrespective of whichever amount you put in the pool, what you own is not the amount, but you have a stake in a business or a partnership. So if you have 3 other friends, all means is that you guys are 4, and now all of you will have 25% stake in that venture. With every deposit, the value of the fund increases and the value of your stake increases. Now you can take that money in the fund after a while and invest it in any business, purchase an asset, or put it in an investment portfolio. Anything you might decide. And this is basically the business model of a mutual fund. For this to be effective, I want to point you to several things you can do. First, carefully select within your network friends you can trust, and emphasis on friends you can trust and not necessarily friends who are wealthy, because the goal here is not the amount you contribute into the fund. It's about building a stronger partnership, and every strong partnership or every good partnership thrives on trust. And if you have a problem selecting your friends within your circle, then maybe you should consider changing your circle. Select people who align with your purpose and not necessarily people you share the same thought process with, because you need that diversity in ideas and experience to make the partnership rich. But essentially, you need people who you share a common goal with so that the decision-making process is swift. Another thing you need to note is everybody contributes the same amount. This is to help so that everybody has equal rights, because you do not want a circumstance or an instance where somebody feels like somebody has more rights or has too much power in decision making. And it's very normal for anyone who's contributing the highest to call the shots. So equal amounts, equal rights. Also, the amount contributed should be an amount that all the partners can contribute irrespective of monthly obligations, because you do not want people making excuses later on about how they have emergencies and cannot contribute for a particular month. Remember, this is not an emergency fund, and this is also not your major investment. This is not a fund that anyone who needs money can go and borrow from. So let the rules be clear upfront. Optimize friendships by creating partnerships. The last thing is create a habit of investment. Even though this sounds cliche, I've discovered that the reason people are unable to create a habit of investment is because the thinking is to start big. The trick is to start small. Think big, but start small. Go easy on yourself. You can't have $1 billion in 3 months, all things being equal. But you can build $1 billion mindset and $1 billion habit. What most people do is they take large sums or large portions of their salary or bonus that was paid and they put it somewhere and say, okay, this is my investment. The problem with that is when you need money to sort out any emergency, this is the same fund you go to. With time, the value of that investment will reduce to 0. It's because your heart is stuck to the money. Reasonably so. That's where your entire savings is or your investment is. So it's difficult to not be emotionally connected to it. What we are seeking to do here by saying you should start small is to emotionally detach you from your money. Because it's easy to let small money go, right? The goal here is to build consistency and make investment a habit. And to succeed at this, I recommend that you do these things. First, decide on an amount you can take out of your monthly income after you've settled your essential expenses, and also taking out your monthly savings or investments, because this shouldn't be a substitute for your main savings or investments. This might, however, mean that you need to adjust your spending so that you can make room for this. But the money shouldn't be too huge so that it prevents you from settling your immediate obligations, because then it will make no sense. The aim is not for you to struggle or go hungry. The aim is for you to feel comfortable, but to build a habit of investing. Now, after you've done the first part by deciding on how much you can take out of the monthly income, decide on 2 medium to long-term portfolios. Say a portfolio that you can only liquidate or get access to your funds after 2 years or more. Now, split the amount that you've decided on into 2. After you've split the money into 2, put each of that fund into these different investments that you've decided on. But be mindful of the fact that some portfolios or investment funds might have minimum deposits, so be mindful of this when you're deciding on which fund to put your money in. Also, select portfolios that won't charge you extra fees or high commission when you want to liquidate your investment after the vesting period. And once you've decided on these, start making monthly deposits into the fund. Now, what this does is, aside the fact that you putting money aside helps you build a habit of investments. The reason I recommend that you should focus on medium to long-term funds is what you're essentially doing is you're creating a pool of funds 2 or more years ahead of you. Remember, this is not your major investment, so this money is money that you wouldn't ordinarily have had. But just the thought that you have money, which is not even your main source of investments, gives you hope and boosts your confidence. You know you've got money in the bank. Now whisper this to yourself: I've got money in the bank. Feels good, right? Also, the reason I say invest in different funds is the fact that it makes you investment savvy. With time, you would have an idea of the performance of several funds such that you know where to put your money. Today, I've shared with you 3 tips on how to grow your net worth, irrespective of what job you do and whichever climate you are in. Invest in your personal or professional development. Convert your friendships to partnerships. And the last thing is create the habit of investment. A little disclaimer though, if you're looking for investment advice, you might want to see your investment advisor, because all these insights I've shared are things that have worked for me and my friends, and I thought to share them with you. So folks, that's all for episode 6. And as usual, I'll leave you with these words to ponder over. What do you wish you had today? Take action now and learn from what happens next. Yesterday was today in the last 24 hours. And tomorrow will be today in the next 24 hours. Think about it. Cheers. And if you haven't subscribed to this podcast yet, kindly follow or subscribe by hitting the notification button so you'd be notified when we release another episode. And please do not forget to share this with your friends and family. We're available on all your favorite listening platforms, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube at Tea Time Global. T spelled T-E-E. And you can reach us on our WhatsApp number +233 20 5008. Let us know what stood out for you in this episode, and until the next episode, cheers.